Today we're going to do a deep dive into a specific community in the southeast corner, the very corner of Gilbert, called Power Ranch. Now, I know I owe you a video on Gilbert in general, but it is the 5th largest city in Arizona. It's just massive with over 288,000 people. But today we're just going to narrow that down just a little bit because Power Ranch was one of the original award-winning communities in the East Valley, and it's still highly sought after today. As a matter of fact, out of those 10,000 households, over 5,600 of them have kids under 18 in the households. So for us, it was a great landing spot, and you're going to find out as I go through all the amenities and activities without even having to leave the neighborhood why it was a great fit for us and why it may or may not be a good fit for you. So the Power Ranch subdivision started out as 2,000 acres that was owned by the Powers, and it was cultivated into this award-winning development that I was telling you about. And what you'll find is that the entirety of it is Power Ranch, the subdivision. But then they did something unique, and they created these little micro neighborhoods within Power Ranch, and they all have their own names. You know, the Groves, the Oaks, Mountain View. I mean, there's a lot of them because, again, this is a fairly large area we're talking about. And so the major cross streets for Power Ranch, you're going to find the most southern side is Queen Creek, which there's a little caveat to that I'm going to talk about in a minute about the active adult side of Trilogy at Power Ranch. But essentially, for the non-active adult side, the most southern side is Queen Creek, and then on the east side you have Power Road, and then on the north side it actually goes past Germain. There's a main road that kind of cuts between the subdivision, so you have North Power Ranch and then the main part of Power Ranch on the south side of Germain, and then on the west side it butts up over into the Cortina neighborhood. Some more basics about Power Ranch. The median age is 33 years old. The average income is about $147,000. 78% of the homes in Power Ranch are owner-occupied homeowners. So there's rentals sprinkled throughout there, but the bulk of the homes in there are owner-occupied. The median price in Power Ranch is about $473,000. However, there's multiple styles of housing in there that I'll get into, and you'll see a variety of price points when I went to poll for this video. The lowest that was for sale was in the high 300s, all the way up to the highest right now is 1.6 million. Now, for most of that particular side of town, you'll see people getting around with a vehicle. There's not a ton of transportation like a busing system out in that particular area. Now, within the community, because again, remember, this is a large subdivision, it will be very common to see people with a golf cart. And because several places within the subdivision you're crossing, you know, regular, normal public roads, those golf carts are usually registered specifically to be used in that manner. Now, despite it being such a huge subdivision, when I went to see what was for sale or coming soon, because here's real quick, you do know if you are only looking at Zillow or Realtor.com or, you know, Trulia, any of those, you're not seeing all the houses. And I know most of you probably want to see all the houses for sale, right? So that's how, working with a licensed realtor in the area, we get you on an MLS feed. You'll get to see those coming soons that do not feed to those public databases until they actually go live. And here, you know, especially in this particular community, the homes will often sell during coming soon, or they'll sell very quickly because people have already gotten in, they've seen the homes before they actually went live. If you want to know more information about that, message me and I'll fill you in. But I'll cover later in the video several different examples of where just homes that we've sold when that's happened. So when I went to poll for this video, 27 homes for sale. That's it. So what that says to me is that people like this neighborhood. When they move into it, they tend to stay. And for having over 10,000 homes and only 27 for sale, it's no wonder they're going quickly. Now, as a higher overview, Power Ranch again is in Gilbert. As I mentioned, it's the 5th largest city in Arizona. Gilbert itself has over 288,000 people per the last census, with over a third of them being 18 and under. And we did experience this when we moved to Power Ranch ourselves. We at that time the market was crazy. Like, we were going through that massive downturn, and my husband was a little nervous about buying a house, to be candid with you, and for good reason. There were foreclosures happening left and right. You could look down a street and see 10 different foreclosure signs. So we decided to rent for that first year, just until, you know, things kind of steadied out and we felt comfortable and knew where we for sure wanted to be. And what happened is we fell in love with Power Ranch. Love Power Ranch. It was just such a unique feeling for us, that because there's several schools within the subdivision, that we literally would ride bikes and ride our kids to school in the mornings. And then, you know, I worked from home, so I was able to go and ride my bike to pick them up to come home in the afternoon. And so, I mean, where we were from, that was like would never have happened, and it was so cool. But the problem for us was that Power Ranch has so many families in the neighborhood. It was so dense with kids. There's actually multiple schools, that when we went to go purchase, there were not really many options, nothing that really fit for our family. And so if a home became available on the north side of Power Ranch, we were currently living on the south side of Power Ranch, it put us in a completely different school, simply because there's so many kids. It is so dense with school-age children in this particular subdivision. Not only do people love all the amenities that Power Ranch has to offer, which I'll go into, but the location is fantastic for many as well. You are the border of Gilbert, Queen Creek. And so the benefit of that is Queen Creek is so new and fresh and is blown up with so many attractions, from the movie theater to Fat Cats to shopping and dining, that you have all of that minutes away, literally, you know, 5, 7, 8 minutes away on the east side. But then you have all the natural attractions that I've spoken about many times before, south of you for hiking and ATVing and dirt biking and horses. I mean, you name it, you got a lot of everything. But then you also are near the Mesa Gateway Airport. Now, for those of you that are not aware, we have our Phoenix Sky Harbor, which from the Power Ranch area, you can expect about, you know, 25-30 minute drive, not too terrible. But we have our Mesa Gateway Airport, which is often a hidden gem as well. When I first moved here, we were leery of that particular that airport. You know, it's many of the planes that fly out there, it's Allegiant, because we thought, oh, well, we're not getting on these little hopper planes. That's not happening for us. They are real, you know, regular size planes, just like you would see out of Sky Harbor. If any of you are pilots or in the industry, I apologize that I don't know all the verbiage for the Airbus, but it's a great airport, and there's often very little lines or waiting. They have the normal security, and one of our favorite places to go for the dining that I was talking about is Barrio Brewing, is right next door to the Mesa Gateway Airport, and it's fantastic. They have a wall of windows, and you could sit there and watch the planes coming in and out, and it's just a lot of fun, whether, you know, the two of us going to eat, or if we have our kiddos with us as well. They have some yummy food. But then beyond the airport and the convenience, I should back up and say that particular airport often flies into the secondary airport. So for us, you know, we can go into Portland, which we would do, you know, on a regular basis. But if we're going through Mesa Gateway Airport, we're going to be flying into Eugene, which is fine for us because we usually rent a car anyway. So sometimes the less hassle of going through that airport in just renting and driving up from Eugene to Portland is not a big deal whatsoever. So definitely check that out if you have not looked at the Mesa Gateway Airport. Now, if you're looking for nightlife, you know, clubbing and dancing and bars that are open late, this probably is not the place for you. You're going to want to probably be more towards Scottsdale, Old Town, you know, Phoenix. We do have from Power Ranch, you can drive to downtown Gilbert, which is, you know, maybe a 15-20 minute drive. It's not too far. We have the Santan Mall, which is a beautiful outdoor mall. But again, they're going to be closing down, you know, for the most part by like 10. It's not exactly what I would call a thumping, exciting night vibe. Now let's talk about some of the amenities I've been mentioning that Power Ranch is known for. One of them being the barn. If you know anybody that lives in Power Ranch, you've spent any time there, everybody knows about the barn, and it literally looks like a barn. It's a fantastic, almost 5,400 square foot space, however, that is available for rental for many different uses for not only the residents, but also open to the public. Now, if you are a resident, it's less expensive than if you're a non-resident. There's some additional fees and costs involved, but a lot of people use this venue for large gatherings, such as weddings, because it can hold up to 250 chairs, 23 round tables, and then if you want to do more of an indoor-outdoor experience, there's 9,000 square feet of lawn usage as well. So you can really have a great gathering at this particular venue, and it's beautiful. It really is. And then of course, for doing your own food, which often can keep things on the less expensive side, they have over a 400 square foot kitchen as well. So it really has some great diversification on how you would use this space. Now, on top of being able to do your own catering, you can have liquor at the barn as well. You just have to obtain your own liquor license, and you just have to show proof of that with your application. Now, for residents, as I mentioned, it runs anywhere from $150 to $350 an hour, just depending if you're looking for a weekday use or a weekend use. Whereas for non-residents, those fees are anywhere from $250 an hour to $600 an hour on the weekend. So there's quite a variance there in pricing. Now, for a smaller venue setup, they have the carriage house. It does not have a kitchen to use with it, but it can still hold up to about 60 people on the inside, 80 people on the inside, and that one is less expensive at anywhere from $75 to $150 rental per hour. Now there's free items as well. I don't want you to think that everything costs money in Power Ranch. There are multiple pools in the community, the ranch house pool, the barn pool, and if you are specifically in the Knolls section, they have their own private 3 separate pools. So there's a lot of different pools. They're heated and they are fun. We happen to move to Arizona in July, because if you're going to move to Arizona, why not move in July when it's like 158 degrees out? So the rental we had did not have the pool in the backyard, which for us was perfect. We had really little kids and we did not want to be worried about that. So we loved having the community pools, and what we would do is after dinner we'd ride our bikes over to the pool, use our key card to badge in, and we'd play in the pool for like 2 hours every night. And then the monsoon storms would come, but they would be far enough away that we could still hang out in the pool, watch this really amazing activity happen, and kids would be exhausted. We'd ride home and put them to bed. So for us, it was a fun fit. Now at the pools, you do need a key card to get in, so they are for the residents only, but there's no cost for that other than, essentially the fees for maintaining and taking care of the pools are basically wrapped up into your HOA. Here it's very common, if there is a community pool, there is going to be an HOA, and there's different levels of HOA fees within this community. When I get to the housing part, I'll talk about why they are and what kind of the differentiations are and the pricing. But one thing they are going to be very stringent about is no glass containers in the pool area, obviously for safety reasons. There's a lot of kiddos, as I mentioned, in this particular subdivision, as well as swim diapers. If your kiddo is old enough or young enough, they need a swim diaper, you better have one on them. And I don't know about Power Ranch right now, it just depends. Every community is a little bit different, but some communities, if your kiddo has an accident and they were not wearing a swim diaper and they figure out who you are, they will charge you. And it can be pricey, because think about it, they have to clear the entire pool, so the community can't use it often for days, because now they have to call an emergency pool service to basically sanitize and get that pool back into a shape where it's safe for other people to be back in the pool. So yeah, you definitely want to make sure you're on top of the swim diaper situation. Same thing with the splash pad, super fun. If it's not a pool day, but you still want to get out, let them get wet a little bit, play, you just wave your badge, in front of the on system, and it will turn the splash pad on for about 7 to 10 minutes, and your kids can have a blast. You can stay as long as you want. Most of the amenities and Power Ranch will kick on anywhere from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. and then shut down by 10 p.m. at night. So this isn't something where if you live there, usually you're hearing a lot of noise or craziness. Like people are locked out. You can't use these amenities after 10 o'clock at night. One of my favorite parts about Power Ranch is the fresh catch and release lakes. I mean, I'm not really into fishing, but just seeing them visually there, they're just beautiful. beautiful. They have these little docks you can walk out onto. It's just peaceful, and I love seeing it in the neighborhood, especially when you drive down Ranch House Parkway. It essentially dissects a segment of the east and west side of Power Ranch, and it goes all the way from the north to south side of it. And so you'll see these fresh catch and release lakes. There's 2 of them. They're free if you're a resident. You do have to go register and get the fishing permit, but the fishing pass. But they are stocked with catfish, minnow, goldfish, carp, bass, sunfish, tilapia. It's just fun, and it's unique and it's different. And I thought it was really cool when we moved here and saw that. Now let's not forget the sports. Of course, we have soccer fields and softball and volleyball and tennis courts and pickleball. There is something for everyone. And most of these are a first come, first serve basis. But there are opportunities where if you want to, rent or reserve any of those, that is possible as well. There's nominal fees associated with them. It's like $10 to $15 an hour. You can reserve them up to 6 months in advance, and there's different setups if you're looking to reserve them for like a sporting organization. You definitely want to check into more of those details, but I'm talking on more of a residential level, that you live in the community. Maybe you want to do a fun, family reunion get together and you're all going to play softball. Fantastic. If you're going to play softball, they leave the bases there, so you don't have to provide those. Now on the soccer fields, you would have to provide your own nets for the goals. And then in the tennis courts, pickleball courts, they're very specific about the type of shoes you can wear, and you can't have any food, any beverages, and you have to be dressed appropriately. If you're in there, without your shirt on and you're playing tennis, you're probably gonna get yanked out. Remember this. One of the things about the HOA is that they are vigilant. They want everybody to be able to enjoy a great experience. And if you just follow the rules, then most people don't have any problems whatsoever. Now we can't forget the parks, or what we call tot lots around here. So we absolutely have those in Power Ranch as well. We've got basketball courts, your basic children's playgrounds. Most of these have ramadas. Sometimes they'll have outdoor barbecues that you can use, nice and convenient. Now we can't forget the regular parks as well, and Power Ranch absolutely has a ton of them, and many of them have basketball courts. They've got your normal playground equipment. Many have barbecues and covered areas because it does get hot, depending on the type of year, but you have shade structures. Now the parks cannot be reserved. They're just a free-for-all for everybody in the community to enjoy. If you're looking to do something more where you want to do an outdoor birthday gathering, but you don't want to reserve like the big old carriage house or the barn, you just want an outdoor space for everybody to come and enjoy, Power Ranch has an answer to that, and those are the pavilions, and those are a little bit different than the parks. The pavilions can be reserved, and there will be a charge to reserve those. If you want to bring a bounce house in with that party event, you will need to get that approved with the HOA ahead of time. Now I mentioned volleyball earlier, and there are numerous locations. There's 3 for sand and 3 for turf, which is a really big deal. If your kiddos are involved in volleyball, you know that, for example, if they're playing sand volleyball, it's really important they practice on the sand volleyball setups, because they're just completely 2 different beasts. Now going back to the party situation, maybe you don't want to rent the pavilion, and you don't want to rent the barn or the carriage house. You just want to do it at your house. Power Ranch actually has this really cool option. They have the party trailer that you can rent, and with that, it's only for residents. It's max rental for 24 hours. You can go have it towed to your house, or they'll bring it to your house. But it has 20 folding chairs, 4 round tables. It has floodlights. It has a barbecue, yard games like cornhole, ring toss, slammo. It's kind of like a party in a trailer, literally what they call it. And it is available for nominal cost to rent that, to bring directly to your house as well. So going back to schools, there are 2 elementary schools in the neighborhood itself. We have Centennial Elementary and Power Elementary. My kiddos went to Power Elementary. Now once they start moving up into middle school, they would then switch over to Sossaman Elementary more often than not, which is in a neighboring subdivision, literally, you know, kitty corner to the Power Ranch subdivision. So it's about a 5-minute drive. And then once they're past the middle school, they usually feed into either Higley High School or Williamsfield High School. Now, keep in mind, as I mentioned in other videos, Arizona is an open enrollment, which means you can put your kids in the public schools that are near you, far away, near your work. You can put them in our charter schools. There's some private schools. There's all kinds of options. The biggest deal with that usually is the transportation system. If you're in your assigned school, of course, then typically it's very close by, or there's often a busing system to handle that. If you're using the open enrollment and putting them in a school outside of where your feeder school is, then you're responsible for that transportation. In Power Ranch, the reason I loved my kiddos going to the local elementary schools, as I mentioned, we rode our bikes. Well, Power Ranch has 26 miles of trails that not only go to the schools, go to the soccer fields, go to the parks. I mean, it is phenomenal for getting around just within the community. Those schools I mentioned are under the Higley Unified School District. Now I know this part is a little wonky because you have a Gilbert address, but your kids are going to a Higley school district. It's kind of crazy. And literally, if you go like 2 minutes south, you either live in Queen Creek or Gilbert, and your kids go to a Chandler school district. We have the weirdest school setup I've ever seen, but that's just what it is. It's in Power Ranch. It is a Higley Unified School District if you're sticking with your assigned school setup. But according to niche.com, as I mentioned, those schools are A+ rated schools. So in addition to all the active amenities that I've mentioned, they have, just like so many other subdivisions across Arizona, actual activities and clubs to do as well. One of my favorite, at that time, my kids were really young. I didn't know anybody. I just moved here. And so Power Ranch had its own Moms Club, which we really enjoyed, just the different components of getting to meet other kids, other moms. They would bring in a speaker on different subjects, you know, so we got to learn a little bit more about Arizona once a month. But then they have, within Power Ranch, they have business events or business clubs to meet other business owners if you maybe are self-employed. They have couples events, they have bingo, they have a poker club, they do happy hours and bring in food trucks. They really encourage community and getting to know your neighbors, enjoying the indoor-outdoor living of Arizona in Power Ranch. So I went over a ton of activities within the community, but there's other things as well. Lots of clubs. Just like across most of our subdivisions, there's always groups and clubs that you can, you know, partake of if you want to. And if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. That's totally great. But in Power Ranch specifically, they have business events. So if you're a business owner and you're looking to meet other like-minded business owners or just network, they have those. They have couples events. They have the Moms Club. I love that when we moved there because I didn't know anybody. My kids didn't know anybody. It was a big change for us. And so it was fun being able to have some connections to intentionally meet others that, like us, many had just moved to Arizona as well. Their goal is to create community and an opportunity for everybody to get out and meet one another. And like I said, if that's you, awesome. If it's not, you can just go on into your own backyard and enjoy your private oasis as well, because we're in Arizona. It's gorgeous. Now, I don't want you to think that Power Ranch is an island amongst itself. Of course, I mentioned the nearby places you can go in Queen Creek and other parts of Gilbert, but just immediately outside of Power Ranch, you have your doctor's offices and dentist's office, and there's a Home Depot, and there is a Safeway and other grocery stores. There's a shooting range like 5 minutes away. There is an Alta climbing club. Lots and lots of opportunities for, you know, taking care of anything you need on a daily basis and then some. You're also near the 202, and the 202, the lower 202 will feed into the 60 or the 24 or take you over to the 101. There's just It's a great spot for location. Now, I'll have to do a separate video on Trilogy at Power Ranch. That is just on the south side of Queen Creek. That is a part of Power Ranch, but it is an active adult only, gated, essentially 55 plus community. There is a public golf course over there, so a lot of people from Power Ranch go over and golf at Trilogy. It's one of the few public golf courses right there in the southeast part of Gilbert. You have Seville, not too terribly far away, it's about 10 minutes away, but that is a private club. So that is popular. And then of course at Trilogy, they have their own clubhouse, their own amenities and activities. It's a whole nother video, let me just tell you. So I'll save that for another day. Okay, let's get to the housing. I know you've been waiting and I apologize, but there's just so much to talk about in Power Ranch. So in this community, you're going to see a variety of styles homes. So for example, we have our patio homes in the Knolls, which are about 3,600 square foot lot total, and then they just have literally a small patio, and those are often very popular for people who are looking for a second home, or they just don't have the bandwidth to do, you know, much maintenance at all for the yard. The front is typically taken care of by the HOA, and they just have their own little inner patio to handle, but it is blocked in, it's closed in. So if you have a, you know, a pet, or you just want that privacy, you absolutely have that for yourself. And remember, the Knolls is the one that has the 3 pools that are separate and a few other amenities that are separate just for that particular part of the subdivision. But in exchange for that, you have a little bit higher HOA. So for example, for most of the rest of the community, the HOA is $116 a month. In the Knolls, you're going to pay closer to $170 a month. So an example of that would be a home that we sold about a year ago, and there it was one of these standalone 3,600 square foot lot. The house itself was 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 2-car garage, built in 2011. So it had, you know, it was a little bit newer, had some updates, it wasn't fully remodeled. And that one, we got it under contract in 5 days for $467. So keep in mind, here in Arizona, the single story homes, the price per square foot, they almost always go for more than a 2-story home. And that's because here in Arizona, you lose about half your buyers on a 2-story home because they're either concerned about utility, cost to, you know, cool the home, or they just simply are coming here maybe, you know, after retiring or whatnot, and they just don't want to deal with the stairs at that point. Now, going with even less yard, here's an example of that home. I was telling you the lowest price point in the community, it right now is $375 for a home for sale, and that would be a townhome. Now this townhome was built in 2013. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car, 2-story home. The HOA on this one is $145 a month. Again, it's got a second HOA. There's a little bit different items that the HOA covers for this particular side of the community versus some of the other ones. This townhome setup is going to have no yard. You might get a balcony, but you have no yard. So this home that is for sale at $375, 1,368 square feet, again spread over 2 stories and no yard. So it's a very different feel than most of the other housing in Power Ranch. Now, most of the housing in Power Ranch is going to be a standard detached home. So let's talk about that. We have one for sale right now that we just went under contract. You'll see some video of it. It's a 5-bedroom, 3-bath home with a 2-car garage. Pretty standard for many of the homes in Power Ranch. You're going to see anywhere from a 6,000 to 8,000 square foot lot size. Now remember, if it's a 2-story home, the footprint of the home is much smaller, which gives you more backyard. But this particular home did not have a backyard, but a lot of the home had been updated, as you'll see in the photos. And after many showings, a lot of interest, in only 10 days, this home went under contract. And then we go all the way up the gamut to what I mentioned. We have one for sale in Power Ranch right now. It's not our home, it's another agent's home for $1.65 and $1.6 million. Now this particular home is on nearly a ½ acre. This home was built in 2004. It's a 5-bedroom, 5-bath home. So it's a big boy, 3-car garage at just over 6,000 square feet. We're talking a large 2-story home, and it has its own private pool. So you'll see most of the homes here in Power Ranch. I would say the majority of them are, you know, between, I'd say, like a mid 500s to mid 700s. But then of course we have some of them on the low end and some on the higher end, and a whole lot of everything in between. If you're thinking Power Ranch is for you, for sure, reach out to me right away. If you're not on a coming soon, then you are not seeing all the potential homes for sale in there. Not to mention, we often know of things that are coming up before they ever get to that coming soon point. We actually have a home in that very situation under contract in Power Ranch right now that the public did not ever get to see. Days, nights, and weekends, if Power Ranch is what you're looking for, message me. We'll get you more inside skinny. Or if after hearing everything I shared about Power Ranch, it is definitely not for you, message me as well. I'm happy to help you figure out where the best landing place might be for you and your real estate needs.